welcome to the Valley. Today I am your host, Janet Michael. It is the Valley Business Today, Front Royal Warren County edition. So we're sitting at the Front Royal Warren County Chamber of Commerce. Nikki Foster to my left, Dr. Matthew Rosario to my right, and we're playing around with something that people may or may never ever see.
True.
But we're trying a little video to see
are.
how that works. But my little tracker, thank goodness for Dr. Rosario here, because he figured out that it was not tracking my voice, it was tracking my person, and it kept spinning all the way around like my head does some days.
It was following you like a little lost puppy.
It was quite entertaining for just a moment or two. So I'm excited that we were able to get Dr. Rosario, I say back on, because technically he was supposed to be on a couple of months ago. We had audio failure. This is not going to happen this time. I'm looking, it looks like everything is going just perfectly, but I'm glad that you were able to re-coordinate your time and spend some more time with Nikki and I.
Of course, thank you.
We're so fun. Why wouldn't you want to come?
You're great, you're fantastic.
Dr. Matthew Rosario, Clear Horizons Counseling Group. You are the founder, CEO, Chief Clinical Director, all of the things. Tell me about your practice. What is it? Who does it serve?
All right, so Clear Horizons Forensic and Counseling Group is a mental health and substance abuse treatment center where we focus on substance abuse treatment for youth and adults, as well as mental health for the mental health side of patients, to include bipolar 1, bipolar 2, schizophrenia, so any ranges of diagnoses we do support. We do specialize in different modalities. I can list them all if you like, but we'll be here all day. But we do specialize with working in the community and providing community-based mental health services rather than just providing services through a office.
We talked briefly about that on the lost tapes, as I'll call them, in that it isn't all just traditional therapy that many of us would think of. We come to an office, we sit on a sofa or in a chair, and we talk. It's much more deeper than that.
Much more deeper than that for us. For me, I think sitting out on a couch talking to a therapist works for some people. For others, I don't think it works as well. One of the things is when you think of the aspect of 45 minutes, we have 45 minutes, 1 hour a week to basically provide you some support, some help. How do we do that when we only speak to somebody for 45 minutes? So we're not able to engulf ourselves within their, what we call is their reality. And when we're able to engulf ourselves within their reality, then we're able to understand and fine tune most of the treatment approaches that we are engaging in with the clients. So for me, I specialize with at-risk youth and adults who are incarcerated through the Department of Juvenile Justice, but then also Department of Corrections. So that style of therapy would look different from substance abuse therapy and from mental health therapy. So I encourage everyone, when they look at finding a therapist, understanding the different approaches that we use. Because sometimes the approach that I may use may not work for maybe Nikki, or maybe not work for you. It may work for someone else. So really finding out how do we provide culturally competent services, but then also looking at the whole person. I think most providers now, we forget that we're human. And so we are constantly just in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. I encourage my patients to text me at 8:30 at night, 9 o'clock at night if they're having an emergency. I rather them take the 10-15 minutes to speak to me rather than checking themselves into a hospital. If it leads to a hospital, then I would love to make the call for the person, even show up to their house and support them through that transaction. Most recently, maybe about a month ago, it happened where a patient came into our center and we had a triage and we called the ambulance. They came, brought the individual to the hospital, and now he's back in services. So how do we provide that community-based aspect? We do it by understanding that we are helping the human and not a number.
The other thing that I really appreciate about that is that we as individuals seeking said therapy aren't always great at being able to explain what our issue or our problem or our trauma is, but you go that extra step to be able to observe maybe a family situation or something along those lines so that you can see it firsthand and then are able to identify it, even to me, who may not even know in the moment that this is what's happening.
Yeah. We do it a lot. So we call it Gestalt therapy, and that's actually a treatment approach where we're just more direct in terms of, hey, we hear a problem, we hear the issue, but we do understand there's a deeper meaning underlining within the issue. And sometimes patients can be difficult in terms of recognizing those unique aspects of themselves. So it's more like, hey, I want you to say that one more time to me. So now I'm going to tell you what I'm hearing. But then I'm going to look at you and say, all right, so let's talk about the excuse you just gave yourself. Because most of the time we don't realize, based on our human behaviors, that we start to create habits. And those habits don't allow us to actually grow, because we are just so complacent where, hey, I've been doing this for so long. So now
Good example is, it's just how I was raised.
I get that all the time. That's how I was raised, or how that's how my parents did, that's how I did. And we look at evolution, we grow. So you should actually want to do something different than your parents, because then that shows a level of growing. Like for me, my parents raised me a certain way, and that's great. I love my parents to death for it. Now, with my children, I raise them a different way because I'm looking through a lens as a provider, but then also, hey, there's certain things I liked when I was a child, there's certain things I didn't like as a child. But it's the same goal, doing what's right, but then also looking at it from the aspect that sometimes we have to give grace. But what does grace look like? And I think when we look at it from a mental health aspect, everyone knows Virginia has a mental health crisis. Fredericksburg just opened up their crisis 1 center. And one of the things we're looking at is, how do we really dig deep into this and actually educate the layperson? Even you coming into the office and say, hey, Dr. Mann, can I sit down with you for 2 hours and maybe do a suicide training with you so I can be able to identify it? I think that we as providers have to be teachers. And so my role as the chief clinical director, I teach a lot. I would tell you, I teach a lot. There's a lot that goes on throughout the day. My phone consistently rings because we have residents and interns, but we are teachers. But the same way I teach the future generation of therapists coming is the same way that we can teach the layperson, even the community, hey, these are the different things you can recognize as a mental health crisis. And then also be able to distinguish between manipulation and then normal people problems. Because
that's the tough one.
That's the tough part, because most individuals,
except for those of us that were raised by manipulative parents.
well, you're raised by narcissistic,
more,
parents, it turns out to be a little different. So I just think when we look at the lens of the person, we need to really understand that we don't wake up and decide to commit crimes. We don't wake up and decide to have a mental health issue. We don't wake up, honestly, and decide to do drugs. Something has happened. And when people come to me and they're like, hey, why do you work with that population, substance abuse, right? They are always going to relapse. They always have these issues. The first thing I say is, well, if you were homeless and you're living on the street and it gets down to about 20 degrees at night here, how do you think they stay warm? Of course they're going to use the meth. Of course they're going to use the fentanyl. Of course. Why should they not? When they're not living, they're actually surviving, and that is how they're surviving while they're staying.
They don't have the luxury or the privilege of checking into a hotel. Correct. In a lot of cases. Those of us that have a home, turning on an electric blanket, or even just getting an extra blanket, something as simple as an extra layer of warmth isn't available to them. So they use what is available to them.
That is the aspect of where I come from in terms of Clear Horizons. We are not insurance-based. I don't turn away patients because of their inability to pay. We don't even accept co-payments. Don't even ask me how that process works, because I don't even know how that works.
He is clinical director, not insurance
right, I am
director.
The clinical director. I don't handle it, but I will tell you that we don't do co-payments. The insurance is going to pay a certain price, so that's the price the insurance is going to pay, and we're going to continue to serve you. If you're unable to pay, guess what? We don't care. We're still going to connect you with one of our therapists, one of our interns, one of our residents, and we will figure all that out in the back end. But I'm not going to stop services because of your inability to pay, because what if? And so that's my mindset, especially from my experience. I worked at another agency where that happened, where a person was waiting to be authorized for services and they wind up committing suicide a month later. Because sometimes the insurance company takes a month or 2 months to come back with these authorizations for me.
And sometimes they don't.
And
sometimes
they
they
deny it. And so we get denials, and I say, okay, well, thank you, and continue to come into our groups, continue to see our therapists. Why? Because we are trying to work with the person. I'm not trying to work with the insurance company. Yes, we have to be able to cover our overheads, but that is not the patient's problem.
Is Front Row your only office?
Front Royal is not my only office, so I do travel a lot throughout the state of Virginia, so Front Royal is one of many. The flagship, so headquarters now is based out of Front Royal because that's where now I'm located. But we do also have an office in Fredericksburg, Virginia. We also have an office in Richmond, Virginia, and we're actually going to be opening up another site in about 2 months in Norfolk, doing the same things that we're doing here, just going to where the people need us. And if someone says, hey, how do you manage all of this? I do have directors. I do have staff, over 30 people who help manage all of this for me because I do actively still practice. Recently, right before this video, just told you guys, I was like, hey, I was all the way in the Williamsburg doing an assessment for the courts. So I still practice, but my specialties is more criminology and justice studies rather than traditional mental health, although I still do traditional mental health. But I do warn people. My style is a little different from other people because I work with criminals. So if you start telling me all your excuses and life is tough, I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna say life is tough for everyone. So what are you doing to change your circumstances?
Well, you're also military.
And then I'm also prime military.
Oh, he's checking all of them.
So I spent time in the military, and my last station was the Pentagon. So I was very structured, working for admiral, and so now I've used my military experience, my clinical experience that created Clear Horizons. So my staff will tell you Matt is very militant, and they do call me Matt. I don't let them call me Dr. Rosario, but they understand when I come into the office, there's standards, expectations. For instance, you have to go above and beyond. If you're coming into work with me and then for this company, you're not going to do the bare minimum. So when you tell me, hey, I turn off my phone at 9 o'clock at night because I don't want to be disturbed, well, you can't work for me.
That's okay on an occasion. Like,
Yes.
I'm turning off my phone tonight because it's my kid's birthday.
Oh, no, they can go ahead and
That's
put
fine.
PTO in, and they'll be like, hey, can we cover? We have a whole duty phone
Yes.
that we rotate throughout
There
all
are-
the therapists.
yes, there
There's
are
other ways.
workarounds.
There are workarounds, but one aspect when they're just negotiating, like for instance, we're going to start opening up on Saturdays. Do I really want to open up on Saturdays? No, I don't want to take people's Saturdays away from them, but guess what? The need is now there, and so unfortunately, most children are in school, and I'm gonna be honest, trying to do therapy at 7, 8 o'clock at night is not the most conducive for children or for the therapist. So guess what? Now, starting on November 8th, we're going to be opening up on Saturdays, and we're going to be seeing only Saturdays are devoted for the youth. We won't see adults. It's only devoted for the youth.
When you say youth, what ages are you
So
looking
we range anywhere as young as 6 all the way to 18.
at? Wow. 6-year-olds?
Yes, 6 years go to therapy. 5-year-olds actually go to therapy too. We call it play therapy when they come and they want to speak to us.
And I have a little bit of working knowledge of play therapy. My very first marketing office ever in Winchester, I shared space with an LCSW.
Yes.
And her specialty, as it were, was actually reunification, which was not an
That's
easy thing.
tough. I was
And
gonna say
so
that.
I'm in the first door when they walk in, and here's mom bringing a 6-year-old or a 12-year-old to reunify them with their father under who knows what circumstances. And so I got all kinds of education on the drawings and what it means when
Yes.
they draw a picture of their family and maybe their arms aren't attached to their body. I have
You
all
learned.
sorts of that
You
sort of thing.
learned.
But I don't think the general public understands that 5 and 6-year-olds can benefit from therapy and should.
They can, and I think when people think of therapy, they think that a child is going to sit there and talk to us. They're not going to talk to us, let's be honest. No, a 5-year-old is not going to sit there and spill their drama and their tea and their issues because they don't even understand what they're going through. But it's just a listening ear. What I like to explain to parents when their kids are coming to therapy that young of an age, and it's only usually about 30 minutes, more educational based. So I am like your child's teacher. So I'm going to teach them about emotional regulation. We're going to talk about feelings. It's not going to be like I would speak to an adult where I'm going to question and do different skills, and
Yeah.
we're not
You're
gonna,
not going to look at a 5-year-old and say, okay, I hear all your excuses.
Right, no, so it's gonna be, hey bud, so what's going on today? And they may not even tell you anything, but it's like, hey, draw me pictures and explain to me how those colors associate with your feelings. Now let's talk about feelings, because a lot of people think feelings are facts, but feelings are not facts at all. And so it's like, hey, let's talk about those different things instead of just us staring at each other. That's why I like play therapy, because play therapy is very strategic. There's a game in my office where it's legitimately a strategic planning game, and all the kids love it. They beat me all the time, by the way, and I don't know how I think they're cheating, but they love it. And then it shows them critical thinking skills. It talks to them about impulsivity, decision-making skills. So that is what play therapy actually focuses on. Yes, it's therapeutic and it's a modality, it's educational based, but then it's also looking at those levels of between 6 and about 10 of starting to develop some of those skills that are needed when they become teenagers.
Let's take a break. When we come back, I'm about to say 4 letters, and you're probably going to roll your eyes. So if the video survives, people will get to see. I want to talk a little bit about ADHD. See, I knew that. I knew that from our last conversation.
I want to put in a request too, just because there's so much information. I want to make sure that we talk a little bit about what you do locally in the community.
Oh, yeah.
Because when we're talking about all of the offices that you have, I'm sure our listeners think,
how can he be invested here?
Right.
When you have to be in so many other places, but you were incredibly invested here. So good point. We'll do all that when we come back. We are sitting at the Front Row Warren County Chamber of Commerce today. Nikki Foster, of course, to my left is my co-host. Dr. Matthew Rosario is to my right, and I keep saying that because now video makes me feel like I need to describe more than I normally do on the radio when people don't even care who's sitting where when I'm recording a show. But Dr. Rosario is Chief Clinical Director for Clear Horizons Counseling Group. We're going to come back and talk more with him in just a couple of minutes.
Okay. I don't think Janet knows I'm recording this. She just stepped away to get another cup of coffee, so here's my chance. Hey everyone, it's Andy from the United Way of the Northern Shenandoah Valley. And yes, Janet, if you're hearing this, surprise. We're still celebrating the Valley Today's 2500th episode and this awesome community fundraiser you came up with. Here's the deal. Between now and the end of the year, it's Janet's goal to raise $2,500 to support the great work of the nonprofits in this community. If you give just $25 or more, you're going to be entered into a chance to be a guest on the show with Janet. If you give $250 or more, we'll make you a commercial just like this one that will air on the Valley Today podcast. So go to givebutter.com/The Valley Today right now before Janet realizes that I've hijacked her airtime. She's walking back in, cup of coffee in hand, gotta go. Remember to donate between now and the end of the year and support the great work of so many nonprofits and celebrate 2,500 episodes of The Valley Today.
Welcome back to the Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. It is the Valley Business Day. We're talking about the business of mental health, more or less. We're sitting at the Front Row Warren County Chamber of Commerce. Nikki Foster, of course, is here with me, along with Dr. Matthew Rosario, Clear Horizons Counseling Group, founder, CEO, Chief Clinical Director. As we learned in the first segment, nothing to do with insurance. You don't know anything about filing insurance claims, but I want to say again, because I think it's important, you do not have to have insurance to be able to be a patient of yours. You can have insurance and they can say no, and even that doesn't matter.
It does not matter to us. So we do have a whole billing department that handles all that. Again, not my problem, their problem. But most of it has to do with how do we give back to the community. And one of the aspects that we do give back to the community, and it's we're not going to turn them away because they don't have insurance. And what people don't realize is therapy is not a long-term solution to problems. You have to do the work yourself. We can give you the solutions. So most people, when they come into therapy, they last maybe about 6 months to a year. I've had patients who've gone 2 or 3 years for more like maintenance, but it's a progression. Like you go to therapy once a week, they all of a sudden turn you to 2 weeks, then every month, and then you come in and you talk. But then I also encourage people, do not wait until you have a problem to speak to a therapist. You can actually see us before you have a problem. We can literally just sit there and you're like, hey, I don't even have a mental health issue, but I just need to vent my issues out that I am having. That is what we're here for. We're here to take it, hold it in, and allow us to just keep it, put it in our brain, store it somewhere in the back, and allow you to feel that relief and that self-gratification.
He has no idea what he's just said, to me in particular.
Right. Yeah.
So when we went to break, I said ADHD.
Yes.
The first thing that I want to ask you about, because I think there is a massive misconception out there that ADHD is a physical ailment, and it is actually a mental health issue.
Correct. So ADHD, and I'm able to speak in verse capacity of this because I'm actually an ADHD specialist and credentialed in ADHD specialty. And what people think ADHD is very surface level. And why I say that is because growing up, we always heard about OCD. Oh my God, OCD has something to do with cleaning. OCD has nothing to do with cleaning. So we have taken some mental health terminologies and weaponized them or just used them inappropriately, and now it's become like the social norm of how we communicate. So attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, there are 3 types. You have inattentive, that's the one where people are like, la, 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 right? Then you have the hyperactivity, where it's high energy. And then you have the third one where it's mixed, where you have a little of both. And why do I bring that up? I bring that up because the first thing I see when a parent brings their child into me, they're like, hey, my PCP diagnosed my child with ADHD, gave him this medication, and that's it. And I'm like, okay, have he gone to therapy? Have you found an ADHD coach? Have you worked on executive functioning skills? And they look at me and they go, I don't know what none of that is.
I just have this pill bottle.
And they're giving my child Adderall or Vyvanse, and it's supposed to help them. But what I notice is it's not a medication not helping my child. Well, let's actually talk about what ADHD truly is. ADHD is the lack of executive functionings. And when I say executive functionings, we can break them down to 9 different categories. And you'll need a whole segment for me on this.
Oh, I'm thinking there's a podcast coming.
Yeah,
Because as someone who took the ADHD test and scored off the charts, that's a personal thing for me.
So there's 9 categories. So we're talking about organization. We're talking about impulsivity. We're talking about problem solving skills. We're talking about inattention. We're talking about managing skills. And so that is what it really is. ADHD is the lack of managing certain day-to-day skills in terms of self-regulation. And what people don't understand is that ADHD is a self-regulation diagnosis. It has to do with regulation, but then also it is because you are neurodivergent. And people don't understand that ADHD is a neurodivergent aspect. And when we think of ADHD, we're just like, oh my God, they're just hyper. No, it's neurodivergent. And what I call it is their superpower.
Right?
Because
People do
they're
not
able
appreciate
to get things done quicker, faster. It might take them a little longer to start, but they're able to get things done. Why? Because they process information very quickly, but then also depending on the level of ADHD, they can be great athletes, they can be great pianists, they can be great public speakers, but they have to learn how to regulate those feelings and those emotions. And I will disclose this on your podcast with a person who has ADHD, because I have ADHD, right? People will look at me and they'll say, oh, there's no way. Guess what? I've learned how to manage it.
You can teach your way out of it.
You can teach your way out of it, but then you can manage the symptoms, because you can feel when you're getting a little hyperactive. You can feel when you're talking too fast. You can feel these things, but once you're able to identify the symptomology behind it, then you can do the corrective action and corrective behavior. But those are skills that we teach individuals. So when you give just medication as the end-all be-all, it's not actually working on those skills needed to manage. But then also, we're either over-medicating or we're misdiagnosing kids with ADHD. And I see that a lot where, hey, my PCP diagnosed my child with ADHD. And I'm like, your child don't have ADHD. Does your child play video games for more than 60 minutes and it keeps his attention? Yes.
Okay, then.
Okay, so let's talk about what else is going on here. Hey, do you understand that there's teenage or child appropriate behavior? He's probably a boy, right? He's probably hyper. It's fine. Take him to the park for a little bit. Great. Now, if you start to notice it's getting irate and a lot, sure, do the medication. Most clinical psychologists will say, hey, start ADHD medication by the age of 7. If you wait until they're teenagers, it's too late.
It is. As an adult, it was too late for me, and I had to take so much of it so often. And then they ran through the whole gamut. And one of them put me to sleep. One of them didn't work at all. The one that finally did work wore off. And by the time I got home from the workday, I had nothing left to do the dinner and the kids and all of that sort of stuff. So then they gave me Ritalin. They gave me for 4 or 5 hours. And what I needed was somebody to help me identify what the situation was when I was getting into one of those situations. And then what do? Yes.
Be coachable.
That's what I needed. And it wasn't available. It was, here, take 2 of these and we'll see you in 30 days.
And then we'll see in 30 days and hopefully you can figure it out. So most individuals, when they come to me to work on ADHD, the first thing I tell them is, hey, we're going to work together, but I'm also going to recommend that you find an ADHD coach that you're going to work with, because yes, as a therapist, I can only do so much. But the coach is going to be able to sit there and actually go through day-to-day stuff with you. Hey, these are the tasks you're supposed to complete for the week. Now, if you don't, they're going to come back to you and say, hey, let's reorganize it. So people with ADHD just need that constant reinforcement, and it's okay.
And we need that outside third-party objective person, because the way that I made my list didn't work for me. But I didn't know how else to make the list. So I just kept making the list the same way, and then the end of the week would come. Nikki and I've joked about this. My list is 4 pages long. And of course I'm not going to get everything done on a one-day list that's 4 pages long until somebody else can look at that and say, let's look at this a different way. My husband, God love him, would say, just pick something. I'm like, I can't pick something.
You can't.
What's the most important? It's all important. It all has to be done first, and it all has to be done now. This is how my brain
And guess
works.
what? That's a part of executive functioning. I just mentioned that. Prioritizations. How do you prioritize what task is most important? People with that particular diagnosis struggle with that. So when they're working with the ADHD coach, that is what they're working on. Hey, what do you think at this? They're all important. Great, I know. But which one do you think that's going to be most time consuming to you right now? Great, let's start there. So sometimes it is that approach of having someone holding you accountable is what allows people with this particular diagnosis to be successful.
Yeah.
And most people who have ADHD are very successful people, but those are the ones who have learned how to make it their superpower. Children, they're gonna get it one day when they become adults. Good luck with that. But with children with ADHD, same thing. Create a routine. So if you're like, my child is off the walls and I don't know what to do, what routine do you have for your child? Children like discipline, but children like structure. Structure it for them. Why are we negotiating? I'm not going to go, this is what we're going to do. And they'll get onto the same page as the parent. And people say, hey, how do people develop ADHD? Yes, we have evidence that shows it is genetic and it is passed on, but then it also may be a little bit of environmental.
I am a strong believer, and then a lot of that is learned because so much is thrown at you, and then you've got screens and you've got video games, and even in a regular school setting scenario, you've got math and then English and then spelling and then you've got recess and then you've got lunch and then all of these things.
And so I asked the question to everyone, then how do people regulate with all that? Because that is a lot, right? Hey, I got tasks. Guess what? People with ADHD, they struggle with regulating with all of that. So that's when we structure everything and help support them. Medication, yes, can be the answer to a degree, but it's not going to teach them the skills necessary to be successful in the future. It's a temporary fix. And then also, if your PCPs diagnose you with ADHD, they should also follow with a referral to a psychiatrist or a therapist to actually get that diagnosis.
Because there is another step.
Because there's another step. Yes, the PCP can diagnose it. I have my own feelings about that, but it should be they diagnose, but then the next follow-up is to go to the professional, which is either the psychiatrist or to the therapist, and say, hey, so my child was diagnosed with this particular thing, how can it work? Most times when parents meet with me, I change their whole diagnosis. I'm like, none of this makes sense. Let me explain to you. And I go on my little whiteboard in my office and I'll draw it out for them. And they'll be like, oh my, yeah, this is exactly what's going on. I said, okay, did anybody ever educate you on this? And they're like, no, they just gave me my child the pills and said, go on with your life. I'm like, no. That's a part of a providers where we as providers need to educate our patients. Yes, I know we have a certain time period with our patients, but we need to provide that psychoeducation part as well.
So let's talk about time for a second, because we touched on this right before we went to break. Nikki wanted to talk a little bit about your community commitment. I don't know where you find the time to manage these offices, make sure that everybody is up and running and that they're doing the good that you opened them to do. And then you're also going out into some of these detention centers and correctional facilities. And you were at our nonprofit committee meeting 2 months ago offering to teach AI to some of the nonprofit. Why is that an important part of what you do?
Good question. And I think you're actually the first person to ask me that question. People see this. They see Dr. Matthew Rosario. They see all the fancy illustration on the social media. They see all the great photos. They see that aspect. But what they don't see is the development of Dr. Rosario. Where do I want to begin with this a little bit? So I won't get too deep because that's a whole nother segment. But one of the things is understanding that children of disparities want to be successful, but children of disparities also have goals that they want to accomplish. For me, I did not want to become the product of my environment. I wanted to get back to my environment. And though that I'm no longer in New York, and now I'm in Virginia, and this is where I was stationed at. I love Virginia. I'm probably never going to move from here. Maybe. So one of the things I look at is when people get into business, they think, oh great, we're gonna earn all this income and then we're going to be self-sufficient and we're gonna become rich and then it's all about me, 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 me. It is not about me. It's about the community, which governs the ability for us to do the work that we can do. So I've been here now 3 years, but over the past maybe 12 months to 18 months, I kind of went back into the light, into this town where we do sponsorship. So we gave Reaching Out Now a $20,000 grant. We do this great community event with Downtown Local where we give out free sandwiches, I think almost every quarter.
Yeah.
Like we find an event, I'm like, hey, we're gonna give out free sandwiches. It's camaraderie, it's collaboration, it's love. Then I randomly one day just showed up to Phoenix Project and said, hey, here's an envelope. And they were like, oh my God, thank you. So it's not for recognition. I don't do none of this for recognition. I don't care about the recognition. But what I do care about is the impact that we are making. And if we as business owners have the resources or have at least some of the resources to give back to the community, we should. So there is an article on social media somewhere where it is stated that I give back 25% of our profit that we make per month back to the community. How can we individualize and support each nonprofit here? Mm-hmm. It's simple.
It is also creating the community that you want to live in and that you want your patients to be able to enjoy.
Correct.
Because if you can fix some of that on the outside, they may not have some of the issues on the inside.
Correct.
So it's kind of genius. It's like mad scientist genius.
Because my stance is community-based. I've always been community-based. When I started this, I was a case manager when I got the military. So it's always been community-based. So it's how do we interblend therapy, community, and then the work that other people are doing. And so for me, I understand that Clear Horizons is great. It is fantastic. Love my organization to death. But we are just one. But how does it look if we support each individual nonprofit in Front Royal somehow and give back? And now we are creating a team of individuals with the same goals, the same mission, and the mission of how do we become sustainable, but then also caring for our community. We're a community first. That's why the insurance doesn't matter to me. When we did the things with High Kids Foundation, the dueling discos, and all the other stuff that we're doing in the beginning, that had nothing to do with mental health in some people's eyes, but that's mental health. Yeah. Mental health is just not sitting in a therapist. Mental health is this. Mm-hmm. It's going out. It's showing the community love.
Absolutely.
So it's how do we bring that life into the community, and that is my goal. Yes, I have a lot going on, I would admit. I'm everywhere, right? So you asked me that question of how do people at Front Royal know that you're here because your location's here, location here, location here. I live in Front Royal now. Front Royal is my town. Front Royal is now my flagship to my organization.
It is your home.
It is my home. My other locations, yeah, they're my home to a degree, but I am committed to bringing equity, inclusion, diversity to a town that my children are currently in and that go to school in. And so my priority is always Front Royal. My priority is my other locations, but understanding what I do for the community, I just don't do it here in Front Royal. I do it in Fredericksburg, I do it in Richmond. It's just not publicized as much because we don't want the recognition. We just want people to know that we love them, we see them, and we hear them.
How do people get in touch with you? Where do they find you?
So they can don't try to find me because you're never going to get an appointment with me. You know,
I'm going to drop an Apple tag
Yeah,
into his bag before he leaves, so I
If
always
anyone
know
needs
where
to
he
contact me directly, they can definitely call the office at 540-583-3211. We do have a website, but I'm not going to list it because we're launching a whole brand new website in the next couple of days. Or they can Google us and then we will pop up. If people want to meet me and actually talk to me, because I get that a lot. So I invite the community. That's why we do a lot of community activities. We did a Narcan event not too long ago. We did a suicide awareness training. Come see actually what we are doing. We all invited.
And you're on social media, so they can
I
follow
am
you
on
Facebook.
social media, so you can find me, myself, my personal one, or you can find the work one on Clear Horizon Friends and Counseling Group, and you'll see the latest things that we're doing. That's where we're posting most. And if you notice, and Nikki can attest to this, you don't see us posting anything about all our other locations. We're only posting about Front Royal. Why? That is strategically done.
Of course, because I don't really care what you're doing.
Right. No one really gets involved. So there is a page
Yeah.
for Fredericksburg. There is a page for Richmond. Front Royal has its own page. And guess what? I actually manage all those pages at the middle of the night, like Nikki does in the middle of the night, saying, "Let me tag these people."
Yeah.
But I do
See,
want
another perfect example of how he is managing his ADHD.
Yes.
how I manage. So I tell you, I am structured. So my day is structured. I have a calendar that I follow, and if I do not follow my calendar, my whole day is. So I've learned myself, but I also learned when I need to take a step back. Is all right.
That's
Your
where I need the
ADHD,
help.
your ADHD's like all over the place today, Matthew. Maybe you need to take today off.
Yeah,
Because
that's
you're
where
having-
that's where I need the help, because what happens to me is that I will just disconnect. But I don't do it in a way that ends up being beneficial for me. Instead, it's a disconnection that then makes me feel even worse
Yep.
when I finally come back to all the things I didn't get done because
Absolutely.
I just walked away. Oh yeah, you and I are having a podcast. We're gonna have a whole podcast series.
I like it.
He's gonna be able to fix me.
Yeah, and then we could do a podcast on narcissistic personality, view with the light. We could do substance abuse.
See?
It's all some great stuff that we can talk about. Because my lens of like therapy, my lens of everything has to do with my life experiences, but then also what I've learned and seen. And when I tell people this and they don't like it when I say it, when they come, they speak to me, I'm like, okay, you sound like everybody else that has the same exact problem. So what are you doing to change it? And they're like, well, it's kind of cold. I'm like, no, it's reality.
And until you can at least start from there, you're not gonna progress anywhere.
Right, so let's move from the culture of excuses and the culture of resilience.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking to a child who was born to parents who passed away when I was 2 years old. I was adopted. I was a baby born addicted to drugs. You're talking to an individual who faced so much disparities. And so now when I see other people, I don't compare because everyone's situation is differently, but it's like, hey, you got this. It's hard. Trust me, I know how hard this is. But once you get there, you will breathe. And now me I'll tell you my age, at 33 years old.
Oh, he's
I
a
get
child.
to-
Of course he's gonna tell me his age.
I get to breathe to a degree, but now I understand that it's time for me to continue on my mission of giving back.
How lucky are you to have him as a child? And a friend.
Exactly. I'm very fortunate. Very fortunate.
So what's happening in your world?
It's wild. It's hard to believe that we're here going into November.
Yeah, we're recording. It's still a day or two left in October, but by the time people are listening, if they're listening on the radio, it
will be-
is
yes.
November, and
Daylight saving
We're
time.
beyond the
Daylight saving time is over,
we are
and
plunged into darkness.
yes.
Seasonal depression
Yeah.
is gonna come up. Let's
Yeah,
go.
and I will say for the podcast, so if people are listening on the radio, they're going to be like, wait, what did she just say? Because I'm going to take all that out and just put it on the podcast. I'm crossing my fingers that we got a new governor in a new political party, but that's all I'm going to say. And I can say that.
Yes, and it's almost here. It's
Right.
almost here. So hopefully everybody's voted.
I'm definitely voting on Tuesday.
Yes. Nikki and I have had that conversation too, is that neither of us, I am not a fan of early voting. I am all
I don't
in
even know how to do
on,
that, so I'm gonna be honest.
I am all in on the day of. There are too many things that could happen, and the whole point of election day is going with your people to the polls and making
Yeah.
that decision right there in the moment. I don't want to do it a week and a half ahead of time.
No, I
or-
mean they're allowing 6 weeks ahead of time voting
that's too
now.
much.
And that's I understand potentially the need for early voting, like for folks who absolutely 100% cannot get to the polls on
But most
election
y'all
day.
got closed on voting day.
Yeah.
But how about a week or you know what? 6 weeks is insane. But
Yeah. So all that'll be podcast.
that's a whole nother
Yes.
conversation that we can
That's
have.
another podcast. So coffee and conversations this Friday, I
Yes,
assume.
Coffee and Conversations this Friday. Our guest is Justin Proctor.
I love Justin
Oh my
Proctor.
gosh. I really have to remember to tell him this because in every group, every meeting, anything that I've had in the last couple of weeks, when I say our guest for Coffee and Conversations will be Justin Proctor, it is exactly that reaction. People go, oh, I love
Yes.
Justin Proctor. So
Oh, yeah.
I need to make sure that he knows how loved he is. People are very excited about
He
Justin.
turned me on to bird-friendly coffee.
And those of you who know Justin know he will be entertaining because
Yes.
he is entertaining. But the folks who don't know who Justin is, I still encourage you definitely to come join us at On Cue on Friday the 7th at 9 a.m. for Coffee and Conversations to hear Justin talk about his experiences. Of course, he works up at the Smithsonian campus here in Front Royal, and
it is one of the few opportunities anybody is going to have to actually talk to somebody behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
There, because it's not open to the public. They used to open
They used to
one
have
weekend a year, and they haven't done
and
that for a while.
Even then, it was very limited into
where you could go and what you
see.
could see. Just being able to have a conversation with somebody who knows how it works on the other side is phenomenal.
Yes. Hopefully folks can join us for that. That is open to anybody and everybody. We want business people. We want community members. We want all the people there in the room to hear from these wonderful people that we have serving our community. The day before, we have another bowling event, Strike Up Some Fun at Royal Family Bowling Centers. We still have a few lanes available. Hopefully by the time folks are hearing this, they'll all be sold out. However, they may not be. So do check with us. We'd love to have you join us. It's a great evening of just fun, bowling, food, door prizes. No stress to it at all. No formal meeting of anything.
So what she's really saying, there's no competition.
Right.
Yeah, there is competition.
yeah.
We don't create the competition, but the folks who are bowling definitely create the
Do
competition.
you bowl?
Yes, I do.
I haven't in quite some time, but I have my own bowling ball, and it's engraved
I
with my
didn't
name.
say I could bowl good.
Nice.
I am toying with the idea this year of selling opportunities. So like someone could come up to me and say, hey, I want to pay $5 so that Matt has to use the kitty dinosaur to roll his bowling ball for the next three
pins or
three,
something.
yeah. Those sorts of things so that you put people at a disadvantage.
Yeah,
Or, that he has to bowl backwards. Whatever, but
You have to do the Law and Order dance before you do the ball, before you let the ball go down
hokey
the alley. Yes.
so I'm playing with some ideas. So as you're listening, if you have any good ideas, shoot them to me. And then of course, it's hard to believe we're talking about this already, but it will be here very soon. Christmas Parade and the Merry Market on December 6th. We are inundated with vendors for the Merry Market, which is great. Good problem to have.
Absolutely.
It's going to be wonderful. We're looking for children's activities. So if you have an idea for a kids activity, or if you're a kids activity vendor, we'd love to hear from you. The market starts at 11, runs until 6, and the parade starts at 4. As I was telling you guys off air, we know that this is the third largest event downtown throughout the year. Last year we had 7,500 people
That
down
is
here.
insane.
It's a great way to
You need a float.
get the word out. It's a great way to get the word
That's
out
not
about your
fair.
business. But we have sponsorships still available. So we do have sponsorship opportunities for folks, big and little sponsorships. So there's tons available to you. I would give this to Matt so he can look at it. Reach out to us. All the normal ways. Social media, website.
FrontRoyalChamber.com.
Yes, all the ways.
Thank you both. And
Thank you.
I will reiterate that a lot of this probably is on the podcast that isn't on the radio.
Yeah.
So people need to
Right.
go and do both. And there might maybe be video. And I have a really good idea. You and I should do some sort of fundraiser. So one of my favorite cartoons growing up was Peanuts. I channeled Lucy.
Funny, but I thought about what Peanuts was, and I'm like, oh, I can see the characters.
I did years ago, and Nikki can attest to this.
Yes.
We used to do an event, the Chamber used to do an event called Trade Fest, and it was a trade show. And I had my husband construct the Lucy setup. And so I had the sign, I had all of the things, and I had marketing advice 5 cents. And I even had a jar that people could put their nickels in, the whole 9 yards. But I feel like you probably could channel Lucy even better than I am, just from, I've got this, and okay, that's not what your real problem is. Let me tell you what your real problem is.
Give them the 5
Yes.
minutes of come and sit with me for 5 minutes and tell me a couple stuff, and then we're gonna
Right.
have another.
Yes, I think that's perfect.
Oh, that would be great.
I will be back tomorrow with a brand new episode of The Valley Today. As far as I know, sitting here in late October, it is live. It is Public Safety Thursday with Captain Warren Gosnell from the Frederick County Sheriff's Office. I almost thought, wait, that's wrong. No, it's right. Captain is right. And we're going to talk about something. I have a list. I have several things that I'm going to put him on the spot for question-wise tomorrow. So meet me back here for that live in the studio just a few minutes after noon.